The Saxton name resonates in Austin. Jim's late father, James Saxton, is a Longhorn legend, a Heisman finalist while playing for Darrell K. Royal. And Jimmy is a UT football legacy from Westlake. He has been insuring Austin for decades. He and his staff will give you old school hospitality when servicing your insurance needs.
He will have a chance to give Texas a win and say goodbye to A&M with a victory for the Horns.
13 years ago, it's hard to believe. I mean, the Texas and Texas A&M rivalry, if you ask me, is not only the best in-state college football rivalry in the entire country, it means something more to the entire state of Texas. There's been some special plays. There's been legends. There have been great stories involving walk-ons and maybe the unheralded heroes that make big-time plays in this game. And there have been quite a few stories. I've seen a lot of them up close and personal at both Kyle Field and Darrell K. Royal. But we all know the ending of how that specific kick, how it all transpired. And there's a guy who doesn't get enough credit from Lake Travis High School. And he was, you know, if there were stats for holders, this guy may be an All-American. The guy who touched the ball before Justin Tucker made that memorable kick that really had scoreboard for the Texas Longhorns against the Aggies. Let's talk about it. Texas A&M week, man, I cannot believe it. It's been 13 years since this guy, Cade McCrary, and the Texas Longhorns walked off of Kyle Field with one of the best endings I have ever seen in a college football game or any game for that matter. Cade, it has been a few years since you played, but tell me a little bit briefly about playing in that game and being a part of some of the best history in college football.
Sure. Yeah. First of all, Sean, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it speaks for itself. You know, it's a 108-year rivalry. You know, I tell people all the time that, you know, this game has caused more divorces and, you know, turmoil within families and offices and work cultures. And, you know, it just means more, you know, in a flagship state like Texas, you know, with the two biggest schools in the state, you know, it just means more. It's a fierce rivalry, and I was just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. Before we get going, that is, I've heard so many stories, and before we move forward, because this is going to be a fun episode, and there's a lot more to it than just that one kick. We're going to build it up from Cade's side of reaching that moment. I want to give a shout out to our primary sponsor of this series of episodes. Let's talk about it being Honest Plumbing and Air, where a handshake still means something, and to each of the other three sponsors, Saxton State Farm, Dirty Martin's Place, and Hargrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof. And we have reached episode 431, and it wouldn't be possible unless you were sharing, liking, and following us on all the social media. That's where we are nowadays. And I'm about 3 months behind on TikTok. I am Gen X. I'm doing my best, but we're gonna figure this out. Hey, Kay, we're gonna break it down. Let's talk about when you were playing at Lake Travis. You played with the great Garrett Gilbert, USA Today. Gatorade Player of the Year in the country.
That's right.
You were a great receiver, long, rangy, anything in your area code. You made the reception. But go back to those great teams and back-to-back state championships. And that's when the turn, you know, of the Austin area high school football started to elevate back then, right?
Sure. Yes, sir. So I was extremely fortunate. You know, we won state my junior year. And then we had a head coaching change, and that's when actually Chad Morris came in.
That's right.
And came from Stephenville, and we were slinging it all over the field. And like I said, I was kind of right place at the right time. You get every receiver dreams about their quarterback being the number one player in the country.
Yeah.
So I was beneficial to that, and put up some big numbers, and it was I had a great high school experience, and wouldn't trade it.
So, football runs in your family. I mean, we talk about beginning with your dad. I mean, it's Mac Bryant. He and Mac were close, and I know this is a younger photo, but I'm pretty sure your dad has aged well. It probably doesn't look much different than this, but
hair's a little whiter than that. But yeah, no,
hey, at least he has hair. That's what I always say because I'm follically challenged. So hey, congrats to him. He does still have the follicles in place.
That's right.
Growing up with the guy who, or the man that it was 24/7 football, I would imagine. But what was that like growing up with your dad, Hardy, and then really getting to see not only Texas football, but this rivalry that we're talking about this week and being around that up close and personal?
Yeah, man. Where do I start? My dad, I was born in New Orleans. My dad was coaching at Tulane. And he was with Mac at Tulane and Greg Davis as well. So the three of them real tight. So when Mac kind of got hired back at UT, my dad was at Rice at the time, and they kind of got the band back together. All the boys, got back together and came to UT. And man, my childhood was great. I grew up as a little kid. I was a ball boy. I was the little dude running out there to grab the tee after kickoffs. My birthday parties consisted of UT football players coming and playing touch football in our backyard.
Awesome.
With friends at the house. I mean, yeah, we got it's funny. I'm sitting up here in my parents' game room right now, and I used to have carpet at the top of the stairs, and for the longest time there was a stain at the top of the stairs. And Vince Young spilled a bowl of queso at the top of our stairs. So we called it the Vince stain forever until we got the carpet replaced. But just things like that, getting to I told somebody this the other day, one of the coolest memories, with my dad, and I think he'd answer this question the same way as 98, his first year there, the first Texas OU game. We're walking down the tunnel in pregame, shoulder to shoulder, and I look up, and my dad's got tears in his eyes, and it's kind of a man, I made it to the big time kind of feeling, as he would say.
Yeah.
And then quickly to be interrupted by a cold beer being poured on both of us by an OU fan. So, it was a great moment, but a welcome to Texas OU moment as well. So, and that was neat. But as far as the A&M rivalry and everything, my my dad's sister went to Texas and turned around and married an Aggie, a fourth-generation Aggie, and now completely denounces the Longhorns. And so our family is a 50-50 split down the middle.
Beautiful.
My sister ran track at Texas, so we're Orange Bloods. And then, we have the Aggie side, who I'll get into a little bit later. But, part of the reason why I still don't have a ticket to the game, and I'll touch on that later. But yeah, no, it's been great.
I think it was soon thereafter that 98 game, you were mentioning the beer being poured on you on that end zone, because that tunnel, I've told everybody, because I'm such a nerd about college football stadiums. Mm-hmm. And every Texas OU game, I would make sure I would take a walk down that tunnel by myself every time. It smelled the same. I got the same chills on my arms. It's just a history. But soon thereafter, I think after 98 or 99 is when they put the tarp over the tunnel. Mm-hmm. So those enraged OU fans wouldn't spill DNA, tobacco, spit, or beer on anyone that was wearing burnt orange. I mean, that's
right. Yeah. And it's funny. I'm glad that happened to my dad and I. That was a cool story to tell, but yeah, very glad that the tarp was put in after that.
I can't believe it didn't happen 10 years prior after what I've seen poured. I don't know why anyone would waste an $8 beer to pour on somebody else.
If if you can tell me where those $8 ones are, I was there this year, and they were much more than $8.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And the line, and they should take off $1 for every 5 minutes you wait.
Right.
That's just mine. No one's going to listen to me. So you go from you were recruited and you decide to go to Texas and walk on. Mm-hmm. And your main position was as a holder. When did you decide, you know what, I can get playing time as a holder? How did that all come about at Texas?
So, yeah, actually, I had a decent, recruitment when I was in high school. I bet I had 5 or 6 offers, at other D1 schools. And I knew I considered them pretty hard. I went on a pretty extensive recruiting trail towards the end of my senior year and was really weighing my options out. But I knew if there was any way that I could get to Texas, who wouldn't, grew up as a Longhorn and was around all those teams. So I knew if I could get there, that's where I wanted to go. And that Coach Brown called and presented the opportunity to me about, being a preferred walk-on. And so, yeah, I said, hey, you know what, I'll take my chances. Let's do this. It's a dream come true. And then when I got to Texas, still was a primarily a receiver. Went through all the meeting. I did all the stuff receiver. And I redshirted my first year just going through receiver stuff, offensive stuff. And then, I knew that I could play at Texas receiver wise, but I wasn't ready then. It was going to take, I don't know, it might've taken 3-4 years, but I knew I wasn't physically ready. So I just said, man, what's the quickest way on the bus? What's the quickest way on the travel squad? And, how can I be a part of all this? And I really didn't think about it because I was so involved as a receiver in high school, and holding was just kind of something that was like, hey, they just needed somebody to do it. So I did it in high school. But then, I was like, well, you know what? I did it in high school. I'll try it. Jordan Shipley had just graduated and he was the holder. So it was kind of just like an open spot. And I, just competed for it. Let's see, I guess that would be, fall camp during 2 days, and ended up winning the job as a redshirt freshman.
So I believe it was your sophomore or junior year? 2011.
My third year, so I was a redshirt sophomore, technically.
Third year, and Texas A&M had already announced they're going to leave to go to the SEC the following year. Both teams, I think A&M was 6-4. You guys were both 6-4, I believe, at the time going to the game.
I believe so, right around there.
Phenomenal. I mean, Mac and Brian Harsin unleashed the playbook. There was a bunch of trick plays, great defensive plays. Cade McCrary had a tremendous game. And then it came down to the kick by one of the best kickers to ever play the game, who was honestly maybe the best to do it in the NFL. It came down to that play. Tell me from what you remember leading up to that kick, because the clock management was on point that game.
Yeah. So what's funny is it's such a big game, such a, an awesome rivalry, and, the 108 years riding on it. And you don't know, you knew probably they'd play each other again, but you didn't know when, Yeah. At first I was just happy to be there, and experience such a cool part of history. So throughout the game, it's kind of back and forth. I remember our defense played really well. I remember Kenny Vaccaro had a pick on the sidelines right there. He was wearing Fozzie Whitaker's jersey because Fozzie was out. And then Quandre Diggs came over the top on a seam route on the hash right there, picked one off. And then Carrington Bynum had a pick six. So I remember that part about it. And then, we get down close there, and we're going to get the ball back with, I can't remember how many minutes left, but as we start the drive and I keep peeking up at the clock, I'm like, holy cow, this this could come down to us, and I wasn't even really I wasn't even really thinking about it at first. And then it really started. And when, with Justin, it's like if you get anywhere close to midfield or around midfield, you got a chance for him to put one through. So when Case broke that long run and, put us right there, and I was like, God dang, this is about to happen now. So it was really neat. And, it gets down close and you can tell we're trying to manage the clock and then center it up in the middle of the field. And then I got buddies on the sidelines coming over to me who were my good friends. So it was cool for him to say it, but, coming over and saying stuff like, hey man, you screw this up, you got to transfer, that, right? And I'm like, God dang, guys, like, come on, not the right moment. But yeah, it came down to it. And somebody asked me the other day, is Justin a guy that you got to encourage or say something to before a big kick and anything? And I'd say every other kicker that I, held for, you didn't mind saying like, hey man, you got this. Or with Justin, I never said a word. We had our handshake or whatever we did after the kick, but beforehand it was straight business. And I never had any worry. Like I was never worried like, oh, he's nervous or he's not ready. Like that's second nature to him.
So you guys line up. It was a 40-yard attempt, correct? 40-yard field goal.
40-yarder, middle of the field. That's right.
Kyle Field was, they were loud, obnoxious. It's a great venue for college football. So you guys are lining up, and then Mike Sherman calls a timeout, and this is what Mac Brown does when in response to Mike.
Passion. Mac Brown. He's got all the confidence. It's funny. Mac Brown told us he's having more fun this year.
Okay, so they're attempting to ice Tuck. And so Mac Brown, being the master of psychology, is what did he tell him after that high five?
I don't know what specifically he told him, but I remember, I believe I heard this or he had said it before, but he would always say, there's nobody on the field I would rather have than you. There's no other kicker in the country that we would rather be taking this field goal now. So something along those lines, I would imagine. Then
you guys go back out there, and it all came down to this. I mean, and A&M, if I remember leading up to that, they thought they had this. They thought we were going to go in, and you guys game plan, did everything possible, and how fitting. And it came down to this piece of video has been played numerous of times, and it's one of the biggest plays in Longhorn football history.
Justin Tucker from 40 yards out for the game. It's up. The Longhorns win it. Gets a winning ride after his 40-yard game winner.
So not many people are carried off the field that I can recall, that I know about in Texas football history. Mm-hmm. Number one, who tackled Justin Tucker, and where were you immediately? Because the celebration was phenomenal.
Okay, so here's a funny story. So to answer your question, one of the few tackles I've ever made in my life, but that was me that tackled Justin.
Did you? I did not know that.
So, and I regret doing it. So here's how it goes. So Justin, first of all, the kick comes off his foot. If you look at the video closely, I'm the first one to react. I knew that Justin, when he kicks, he didn't have it. It wasn't like a slice or a fade, like any of that stuff. It was just going to be a dead straight ball, which he always had. And right off the foot, I'm jumping around, flailing my arms like an idiot because I know it's going in, But then I chase after Justin, and he runs to the opposite end of the field. So I chase Justin and tackle him. Well, we kind of fell like in an awkward way where he fell first and I kind of fell on top of him, but we were kind of like face mask to face mask. And then the weight of the entire football team, is on top of us now. Well, neither one of us can take in any air. We're like on the bottom, and can't breathe. We're both like gasping for it, but can't get in the air. His eyes roll back in his head. And there was a couple moments there that I said, this is it for me. I will die on Kyle Field. Like that's I guess there's worse ways to die, but these are my final breaths. And it would seem like 10 minutes that, everybody rolled off and then we both come up gasping for air. Justin's got blood running out of his nose. It was a great moment, and it just, got a little scary there. But yeah, it was awesome. And then obviously he gets picked up and carried off the field, but it was a cool deal.
These are photos that you sent to me. Loved them. Love each and every one of them. This is kind of the succession of events. I mean, the close-up on the left, that's obviously you waiting for the snap. Now, I forgot who was the deep snapper that year.
So the short snapper was Alex Zumberg.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then we go to the bottom middle. You receive the snap. You're placing it. And was it laces out?
100% every time.
Then we go to now the right. You knew immediately.
I knew it. Just the type of ball that came off Justin's foot. Some guys have a slight draw or a slight fade, but his were always really high, really quick, and straight. So right off the foot, I knew if it cleared the line, like it didn't get blocked, then it had no chance of missing it. So. Yeah, I'm jumping around. I think Justin, followed through and admired it a little bit, like you do on a good golf shot, But I wasn't waiting around. I was gonna go crazy.
So up top is right before the celebration ensued. And did you know it at the time or think about it? This piece of video is going to be played over 1.1 million times. I just made up that number, but. And that it would go down as one of the greatest moments in Texas football history.
So I didn't, it's a game winner, and so you're obviously ecstatic about that, but it really didn't hit me till we got back to the locker room. And, I checked my phone and I got 300 text messages, and then people, it's kind of, we're just sitting there talking and you kind of get off that excitement high and you sit there and you're just like, wow, that really just happened, and then it kind of hits you a little bit. But another quick funny story, and I'll make it quick, but the last time I'd been to Kyle Field before that was as a senior in high school, and my dad, maybe it was junior, senior, and my dad's out of coaching. And he takes Garrett Gilbert and I to the game at Kyle Field. Well, it's the first college football game my dad's been to where he didn't have a parking pass, next to the stadium as a coach.
Oh, yeah.
So we pull in a College Station, and not 5 minutes into town, my dad's like, you know what? We're just going to park in this Taco Bell parking lot on University Boulevard, and we'll be fine. Of course we were not fine, so we – we go to the game, come back, cars towed. It's a whole ordeal.
Oh, my God.
Anyways, when this game rolled around and we're dishing out our player seats and everything, I talked to my family like, hey, so, I'm going to put the tickets in y'all's name. And my dad was like, man, I'm not going to that place again. The seats are real tight. I got nowhere to park, and I'm probably going to fight somebody in the stands. So
that's exactly right.
He's like, I'm going to stay at home and watch it on TV and enjoy it, So it was funny. The greatest sports moment of my life, and my family's at home watching it on the couch.
Back in Austin.
Yeah, that's right.
That's great. Those are great stories. The one part that I think that it's not talked about enough. I mean, it's the simple fact of not only was it the last game when the series there was a press pause, but you think about it, not one Aggie could say anything except we're going to the SEC. I haven't heard anything from any Aggie until a week ago.
Oh, I mean,
13 years it's been that. Have you heard anything?
No, that's why I think it was so important. I think that's why, because someone was asking me about the previous year. The A&M had beat us at DKR the previous year.
Right.
And someone asked me if this was a revenge game, and I said, no, I don't think it was a revenge game at all. It was more so of we want to win this last one, because it could be 2 years, it could be 20 years, in the next time. So we wanted to make sure we took care of the last one. And I think you're right. Other than, we're in the SEC Superior Conference, hey, what happened the last time we played? Or what's the overall record? It's like, it's little brother stuff.
So it is. It is. So real quick, for people who are not sure, go through the mechanics of making a kick like that. It goes from a perfect, you got to have everybody not offsides when it's snapped. It has to be a great snap, a good hold. You are doing so many things in a matter of a second.
Sure.
And then the kicker has to punch it perfectly or a certain way. But this was right down the pipe. Go through the mechanics so that people understand what your job really is. Yeah.
So I guess, first of all, kind of stupid, but your first assignment is to count and make sure you got 11 on the field, and that was my first thing to do, is make sure I knew if I counted 9 and then me and Jay Tuck were back there, that made 11. But in a perfect world, you have a cadence that everyone can kind of hear. And so that way you're all kind of moving at the same time. Well, in that specific scenario, it's so loud that you can't hear yourself yell. So we had to go on movement. And we'd done it so many times that Zumberg knew, exactly when I make this pretty direct movement that he was going to snap. And then it's kind of tough on the linemen. They have to have kind of their eyes inside to make sure they see when the ball snapped. But at the same time, they got to be worried about, sometimes 2-3 guys in their gap ready to just bull rush them. So that all has to work. And then Zumberg and I worked a lot, and he's an unsung hero too. He could put the ball. He didn't grip it with the laces in his fingers when he was snapping. He knew exactly how to roll the ball rotation-wise. He knew exactly how many rotations it would go in those 7 yards, so that we messed around it, quite a long time, and he got where he knew, hey, if I can grip it like this, it's usually going to be laces out for Cade when he gets his hands on it, So we messed around with that. It doesn't always work out, but, it helps. And then, catch it like most people, it's just catch, put it down, and then spin it. Jordan Shipley was phenomenal. He actually taught me this, that if you catch it and can feel the laces in your hand, as you're putting it down, you can rotate it in the air. That way you don't have to spin it while it's on the ground, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Yeah, it does.
So a lot of people, you put it down and spin it, and hopefully it, they just end up out. But yeah, Jordan taught me that. And it makes sense. You feel the laces when you catch in your hand, and you can rotate it while it's going to the ground. And then certain kickers, some are very picky. They want it exactly straight up and down, and maybe lean back towards them a little bit. Some like it lean towards you as a holder significantly. With Justin, man, and it really helped my confidence, especially as a young guy that had just won that job as a freshman. And it shows you his confidence. Justin Tucker loves him some Justin Tucker. And so he said, I remember in 2 days, he said, man, just put it down and I'll knock it through. And I was like,
that's all. Yep.
All right. That takes a little pressure off me, so.
You've got to be weirdly, oddly confident in a unique way as a quarterback and a kicker.
Absolutely.
That's what I've learned.
Absolutely.
So we fast forward to modern day. And the series picks back up, and I just got to show everyone, if you're not a season ticket holder who has enough loyalty points and donate enough, you didn't have access to buy tickets to this road game, and be glad that maybe, I don't know if be glad is the word, but if you're going through the secondary market, here's a few of the prices. Minimum third deck end zone, $723 per seat. If you want to be like Kade McCrary, you want to be 50-yard line, that type of class of seat over there, you want 20 near the field, you probably need only $2,600 a ticket. I mean, this is outrageous. And basically what it is Aggies being smart. They're thinking, you know what? I want to be at this game, but I can make a hell of a profit off of my tickets. I mean, does this surprise you at all, these price points?
Not at all. No. In fact, I guess we'll talk about it coming up. But yeah, I had two options to go to this game. One of which that Aggie side of my family that I was talking about earlier have a box. They got a suite at the 45-yard line, and 20, 25. See, I don't know how many are in the box, but I knew that it was going to be tough to come by as a ticket, and so I just reached out to him and just said, hey, I will pay you, for one seat in the box. Like I'll be, the etiquette of being in an away game. I won't be flying burnt orange and, hooping and hollering. Like I just want to be at the game. I feel like I need to be at the game. And I didn't hear back from him. And I talked to some of my other cousins who did not attend either university, who did get the invite from them. So kind of just goes to show you the dividedness of how that works in UT Aggie.
Wow.
Family. So yeah, I was a little down about that, and and I'm sure we're getting into it, but I kind of joked about it. I said, man, if I can't ever get a ticket, I'm going to tweet at Delcani, last ditch effort. And that's funny, man. 2 nights ago, I just said, hey, I'm the last, yeah, here it is right there. I'm the last human being other than J-Tuck, got an extra ticket for you, boy. And it has been insane. Let me I think the last time I looked, it was 70,000 people viewed it.
So this was when it was on the 25th, you had 22,000 views.
So right now is 63,000 views and about 550 likes. And
wow.
My dad was being funny. He said, man, 65,000 views and not one of those 65,000's got a ticket for you. But no, I'll probably end up just, watching it on the couch like my dad did back for the last one. So
did you have any suggestions or connects? Hey, I've got somebody, let me ask somebody. You had a lot of those. Let me see if I can talk to somebody.
I have reached out to quite a few people. And I know if you got them, you're holding on to them, and not many people, And the other thing is, if I were to scrounge one up or, buy one off of somebody from A&M for a large amount, then I'd just be sitting there wearing orange in the middle of their section getting hissed at, for 4 quarters. So I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, my God. That's beautiful. I'm shocked. CD did, because he replies to everybody, it seems.
I know. That's what I thought. I've seen him, do similar stuff, and, he replies to everybody, but I don't know. Yeah, he's got a lot on his plate this week.
Yeah, just a little bit. So if you're listening, watching this episode, get our guy, Kade McCrary, link him up to somebody who I don't think he cares where the seats are. Just get him in, or even, hey, Stark, anybody, get him a sideline pass. Let him be in friendly confines of that Texas sideline. Let's see what we can do for our guy, Cade.
Hey, man, tell me something good.
We talked about a lot of not just good things, great things. The Texas and A&M rivalry's back. Cade McCrary and Justin Tucker, two of the biggest reasons why Texas has scoreboard on Texas A&M and has had that for 13 years. And it's Thanksgiving weekend. I mean, anything you want to add that may be good, Cade, that's positive spin, that you noticed how everybody that you've been around across the state or in the Austin area, because there's a different feel in the air the last 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I there's a lot going good right now. As a former high school football coach, all 3 of the schools I coached at are playing this Thanksgiving week in the playoffs, third round of the playoffs. So shout out to the Cavaliers and the Dragons and the Indians. It hits home for a lot of reasons for me. The old obviously the last kick, the old rivalry. Quinn Ewers played for me at Southlake, so I got an invested interest there too. So yeah, man, there's just a lot of it's a great time of the year. I just moved back to Austin, got out of coaching, and got to be closer back towards my family. And so I got nothing to complain about. There's a lot of good going on right now.
It's Thanksgiving. It's a great time, and especially for families at the dinner table. What are some of the McCrary's favorite dishes, and what does it for Thanksgiving? What was a constant at the McCrary dinner table on Thanksgiving?
So my grandfather was born in New Orleans, my dad was born in New Orleans, and I was born in New Orleans.
Oh my goodness!
I wouldn't say we claim Cajun, but we are a little Cajun, and so we get a Cajun smoked turkey every year with the Cajun injection or whatever. So that's a staple. Personally, I like to build you ever go to KFC and get one of those bowls?
Yeah.
Like a nice mashed potato base with some corn and turkey and ham with some brown gravy on top, and kind of just mix it up like it's a bowl. Yeah, that's right in my wheelhouse right there.
So you're definitely a brown gravy guy, or red eye gravy maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah, my dad and my parents dabble with oyster gravy and the oyster stuffing and stuff like that. That's a little too much for me, but yeah.
Oh my God. I can't wait, because I'm not a big dessert eater, but I'm one of the few Caucasians who love sweet potato pie.
Yeah, we'll have some of that too. That's
or is that a Southern thing? What is it? I think it's a Southern thing. Maybe.
I don't know where it came from, but I'm not mad about it.
I'm not mad about it. Hey, I encourage everybody.
Yep.
Get your pumpkin, but be sure to give it a chance. Open your mind up a little bit. Have sweet potato pie. Yeah, I think it is a Southern thing, but I don't see many of my people in my sphere of friends and family. They don't eat a lot of that. I don't get it. Or it's not often. And I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe I should speak up a little more often. Hey, Cade, a big thank you for this. And I know this is a big deal for you and your family. And to really drive it home, when I saw your tweet, the last person to touch the ball, that put it in perspective in 2011, last person to touch the ball for Jay Tuck to kick the last game, the winning kick. That was the last Texas A&M game before it renews this week. That is an amazing perspective to think about, because maybe you didn't realize that until, wait a minute, when did you realize that, or pop in your head that, wait a minute, I was the last person to touch that ball?
Well, my tidbit was like, yeah, I guess I was, the holder for that last kick. And then one of my buddies sometime we're sitting around talking about it. He's like, do you realize other than Justin's foot, you're the last person? And I never thought about it like that, I guess. But yeah, it makes sense. So
pretty amazing. And it's going to be fun, especially for people like yourself and former Longhorns. And I'll say this, all Aggie and Texas fans, there's a hunger for this. I think everyone in the state can agree this should have never ended, and it's back. And man, just like everyone else, appreciate you, and it's amazing to talk about history. And man, you are now a Stories Inside the Man Cave VIP alumni. I'll send you a certificate one day.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been awesome, just being a little piece of history, and get to enjoy it for a couple more days, and then probably never think about it again. But it's been great these last 12 years.
It has been. Are you a predictions guy, or do you try to stay away from that?
Man, I can make a prediction.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna say it's going to be knock it down a little bit. I'm going to go 28-10. Good guys.
Good guys. The guys who wear the darker shade of orange. Is that where we're going?
Yeah, I think the Texas defense is phenomenal.
I think they're legit.
And I think if they can keep Reed under wraps, and Quinn can get off to a good start and play like that offense can, then I think 28-10 is a good mark.
Man, congrats on taking the leap out of coaching, and whatever you do for moving forward, you're going to be a success.
I appreciate it, Sean. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. And, let's go take care of business Saturday.
Hey, absolutely. Whenever we can talk about Kade McCrary holding the ball for one of the biggest kicks in Texas football history and talk about Thanksgiving and whenever the subject of the Aggies and Longhorns playing tackle football, you know what? It's always good to talk about it.